Have you ever felt exhausted without knowing exactly why? Do your days blur together, filled with tasks, but empty of meaning? Does your mind feel cluttered, even in silence? The truth is, not all destruction is loud. Sometimes, the most damaging habits are the quietest. They're the ones that sneak into your daily life, undetected, unchecked, and slowly erode your peace, focus, and purpose. Inspired by Stoic philosophy, this video will uncover 5 silent habits that may be silently destroying you, and more importantly, how to free yourself mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. But before we begin, if you're committed to mastering your mind and transforming your life, subscribe. This channel is your space for timeless wisdom applied in a chaotic world. Now let's dive into it. 1. The hidden cost of autopilot living. You wake up, you scroll, you eat, you work, you scroll again, then sleep. Repeat. This cycle has become so familiar that we rarely question it. The pattern seems harmless. After all, you're simply navigating life, doing what needs to be done. But beneath this surface of routine lies a subtle erosion of something vital, your presence. Living on autopilot may seem like a time saver or a coping mechanism for a fast-paced world, but over time it disconnects you from the only moment you ever truly possess, the present. When you function automatically, you begin to move through your days without intention. You may be physically present, but mentally and emotionally you're elsewhere, lost in thoughts of what happened yesterday or what might happen tomorrow. This fragmentation keeps you from fully experiencing your life as it unfolds. You might have conversations without truly listening, work without meaning, or relationships without depth. The tragedy is that you can spend years this way without realizing what's been lost. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic philosopher emperor, once wrote, "People look for retreats for themselves in the country, by the coast, or in the hills. But nowhere can a man find a retreat more peaceful or more free from trouble than his own soul." This ancient wisdom cuts to the heart of the issue. We think peace and fulfillment are found in external escapes, more travel, better jobs, new relationships, but we ignore the inner work. The true retreat and the real solution to our restlessness lies within. Stoicism reminds us that peace doesn't come from adding more to your life. It comes from stripping away what doesn't matter. When you eliminate the mental noise and emotional clutter, what remains is clarity. You begin to see where your time is going, who is taking your energy, and what truly deserves your attention. This subtraction is not loss, it is liberation. Ask yourself, how much of what you do every day is aligned with what you value? Are you truly living, or are you merely surviving? Do you act with intention, or do you drift? When you stop living on autopilot, you start reclaiming your life. You begin to choose your actions rather than react out of habit. You create instead of consume. You engage instead of escape. This shift doesn't require a dramatic overhaul. It begins with awareness. Start noticing when you're scrolling without purpose. Observe the impulse to distract yourself when things feel uncomfortable. These moments are opportunities to return to yourself. Your power lives in the present, not in the past you can't change or the future you can't predict. Every meaningful decision, every moment of connection, every step toward peace happens now. You don't need to hustle harder or do more. You need to do less, more mindfully. Subtract what doesn't belong. Simplify your inputs. Clear the path for what matters. Because once you stop living on autopilot, you remember what it means to truly live. 2. 9 quiet habits that sabotage your peace. Some habits scream for attention. Others whisper so softly that you barely notice them until it's too late. These are the quiet saboteurs of your inner peace. They don't break down your life. In a dramatic collapse, they slowly erode it like water wearing down stone. Let's name them, because naming is the first step to seeing overthinking. You replay conversations, decisions, and mistakes in your mind until your head is a noisy battleground. Overthinking isn't problem solving, it's worry disguised as productivity. Endless scrolling. The digital world offers a never-ending escape from the real one. But hours slip by while your mind becomes numb and distracted. Saying yes when you mean no. Each false agreement chips away at your boundaries. Over time, resentment replaces connection, and exhaustion sets in. Procrastination. Putting things off might offer short-term relief, but it builds long-term anxiety. The weight of the undone follows you everywhere. Tolerating draining relationships. Some people energize you, others leave you feeling depleted. Your peace requires discernment in who you allow close. Being constantly available. If your phone is always on, your mind never truly rests. Availability without boundaries leads to burnout. Holding on to anger. Anger is a natural emotion, but clinging to it is a choice. The longer you hold it, the heavier it becomes. Seeking validation. When your sense of worth is outsourced to others' opinions, your peace becomes fragile and easily shattered. Living without reflection. Days turn into weeks, months into years. Without pausing to reflect, you risk living a life that looks full, but feels empty. Each of these habits may seem small in isolation, but together they form a heavy burden. They rob you of your time, your presence, and your self-respect. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, warned us, "It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste much of it." These habits are how we waste it, not through dramatic failures, but through thousands of unconscious choices that pull us away from ourselves. The Stoic path isn't about perfection, it's about awareness. When you start to recognize these quiet saboteurs, you reclaim the power to respond differently. Catch yourself in the act. Notice the urge to scroll and choose stillness. Feel the impulse to say yes, and instead say what you truly mean. When you're tempted to overthink, ground yourself in what you can actually control. Replace overthinking with reflection. Replace scrolling with solitude. Replace resentment with boundaries. Replace validation seeking with self-respect. The quiet. Habits that sabotage your peace can be replaced with quiet habits that restore it. 3. Reactivity is not strength. Choose your response. We live in an age of immediacy. Notifications ping, comments provoke, and headlines scream for outrage. In this environment, reactivity is the norm, and unfortunately, it's often mistaken for strength. But true strength lies not in how quickly you respond, but in how deliberately you choose to respond. Reactivity is impulsive. It's the flash of anger when you're insulted, the panicked reply to an uncomfortable message, the knee-jerk retort in an argument. It's survival mode, fueled by adrenaline, ego, and fear. But while it may feel powerful in the moment, reactivity usually leaves a trail of regret. The Stoics offered a radical idea that your true power is found in the space between stimulus and response. That space, however small, is where you reclaim your agency. Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." You can't control other people's words, actions, or opinions, but you can control your reaction. And that control is the foundation of emotional resilience. Imagine a moment when someone criticizes you unfairly. Your immediate reaction might be to lash out. But if you pause just for a breath, you create space. In that space, you can consider whether the criticism is valid, whether it's worth responding, and how to do so without compromising your integrity. That pause is not weakness. It's wisdom. It's restraint. It's clarity. It's the mark of someone who is not controlled by their emotions, but in control of them. Reactivity is survival. Responsiveness is mastery. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. You don't have to reply to every message the moment it appears. You don't have to mirror someone's chaos with your own. Instead, you can choose calm over conflict, stillness over stimulation, understanding over assumption. This doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. Stoicism isn't emotional numbness. It's emotional clarity. It means acknowledging your feelings without being ruled by them. Every time you pause before reacting, you strengthen your character. You train your mind to choose what aligns with your values rather than what gratifies your ego. Over time, this becomes your default, not reactivity, but reflection, not impulsiveness, but intention. In a world that rewards the loudest voices and fastest replies, let your power be your pause. Let it be your discipline. Let it be your ability to rise above the noise with calm, with control, with clarity. Let others be loud. Let others be reactive. You be deliberate. That is the Stoic response. That is true strength. 4. Your thoughts shape your world. Choose them wisely. Your inner dialogue is more than idle chatter. It is the blueprint for your life. What you repeatedly think, you eventually believe, and what you believe dictates how you feel, how you act, and ultimately, what kind of life you create. Your inner voice, the tone it takes, the stories it tells, and the judgments it passes, isn't some background noise to be ignored. It is your constant companion, shaping your perception of yourself and the world around you. The Stoics knew this long before modern psychology validated it. Marcus Aurelius, one of the greatest Roman emperors and a devoted Stoic, wrote in his Meditations, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." This single sentence contains an entire philosophy, that peace, resilience, and clarity are found not by rearranging the external world, but by disciplining the internal one. If your thoughts are filled with fear, anxiety, self-loathing, or anger, your emotional world will become stormy, even if nothing is wrong externally. You could be sitting in a peaceful room, safe and sound, but your mind could convince you that you're under threat or unworthy. That is the power of thought. It's not what happens to you that determines your reality. It's how you interpret what happens. Your thoughts are the lens through which you view everything, and if the lens is dirty, everything looks distorted. Epictetus, another Stoic philosopher, reminded his students, "It's not things that disturb us, but our opinions about them." Let that sink in. You might lose your job, and that's a fact. But whether that event ruins your peace depends entirely on what you think about it. If you see it as a catastrophe, a reflection of your worthlessness, then suffering will follow. But if you view it as a chance to grow, to change course, or to build something better, then the same event becomes empowering. Your consistent inner dialogue, especially in quiet moments, is like the weather forecast for your soul. If you constantly think, "I'm not enough, life is against me," or "nothing ever works out," then that's the world you live in, regardless of whether it's true. This is not about positive thinking in a shallow, ignore reality sense. It's about choosing thoughts that empower rather than weaken, that clarify rather than confuse. Imagine someone standing at the edge of a mountain cliff looking out into the mist. They can't see clearly what lies ahead, but they have a choice. They can say to themselves, "It's hopeless, I'll fall, I can't go on." Or they can say, "This is hard, I'm scared, but I'll take one step at a time." The second inner voice doesn't deny reality, it meets it with courage. That's the difference between being ruled by fear and choosing thought patterns aligned with strength. Speak to yourself with discipline. When fear starts whispering lies, correct it. When your mind spirals into criticism, interrupt it. Speak with compassion, as you would to a close friend who is struggling. Be kind, but also honest. Don't indulge in thoughts that sabotage you. And speak with courage. Remind yourself that you've faced challenges before and overcome them. The Stoics trained themselves daily to master this. Marcus Aurelius wrote to himself not because he was already perfect, but because he needed reminders. His journal was his way of sharpening his thoughts, aligning them with truth and virtue. If the most powerful man in the world needed that kind of mental discipline, how much more do we? Don't wait for life to feel good before thinking positively. That's backward. Think better to live better. You don't need external validation to believe in your worth. You don't need perfect circumstances to be at peace. You need only to examine your thoughts and choose them wisely. You wouldn't feed your body poison every day and expect health, so don't feed your mind destructive ideas and expect peace. This is the Stoic path: to watch your thoughts, guide them with reason, and hold yourself accountable to the highest standard. It is both a lifelong discipline and a daily choice. And it begins now, with the next thought you allow to take root in your mind. 5. The power of boundaries, action, and forgiveness. As we bring this journey of Stoic wisdom to a close, consider these 3 core principles that the Stoics would want you to carry with you: decisive action, strong boundaries, and the freedom that comes from forgiveness. These are not abstract ideals. They are tools for survival and growth in a chaotic world. Take action now. Procrastination is often disguised as planning. You tell yourself you're waiting for the right time, for the stars to align, for some inner readiness to appear. But life doesn't operate on your schedule. It's always moving, always changing. The perfect moment is a mirage. It retreats the closer you get. Seneca, the Roman Stoic, wrote, "While we wait for life, life passes." If you're waiting to feel more confident before starting something new, you'll wait forever. Confidence doesn't come before action. It grows because of action. Do it scared, do it unprepared, do it imperfectly, but do it. Action is how you move out of fear, how you shape your reality, how you take ownership of your life. Every day you delay is a day lost to hesitation. You're not promised unlimited time. The Stoics constantly reminded themselves of mortality, not to be morbid, but to ignite urgency. If you had only a few days left, what would you do differently? Begin now. The world doesn't wait. Guard your time and energy. Your time is your life. Every yes to someone else's request is a no to something else. You do not owe anyone constant access to you. Being available 24/7 is a modern illusion, one that leads to exhaustion, resentment, and disconnection from your own needs. The Stoics believed in living according to nature, and that includes honoring your energy. If something drains your peace, consistently it must be examined. That could be a relationship, a job, or a habit. You are not a machine. You are a human being with emotional and mental limits. Protect those limits. Set boundaries like your peace depends on it, because it does. This might mean saying no more often. It might mean turning your phone off. It might mean walking away from people who disrespect your time. Boundaries are not selfish. They are a declaration of self-respect. Let go of grudges. The Stoics were clear. Anger is a poison that harms the one who holds it more than the one it's directed at. When you carry a grudge, you carry the past like a weight on your back. You replay old wounds. You keep yourself trapped in cycles of resentment. And for what? The other person may never feel your pain, but you do, over and over again. Forgiveness is not saying that what happened was okay. It is saying that you refuse to be controlled by it anymore. It is not weakness, it is power. It is the ability to say, "You hurt me, but I will not let that define me." Forgiveness is freedom. It's lightness. It's choosing to let go so that your energy can be used for something better. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, the best revenge is to be unlike him who performed the injury. In other words, rise above. Let it go, not for them, for you. Together, these three truths, taking action, protecting your time, and practicing forgiveness, form a powerful triad. They are how you reclaim yourself in a world that constantly tries to pull you in 100 directions. They are how you build a life not by chance, but by conscious choice. Let these Stoic teachings anchor you. Think wisely, act boldly, protect your peace, and forgive with courage. This is how you live, not just exist, with strength, clarity, and integrity. Reclaiming yourself, one silent habit at a time. The silent habits that destroy you don't make a sound. They don't warn you. They don't knock loudly at your door. They slip in quietly. They make a home in your routine. But you can take your life back, one decision, one boundary, one conscious breath at a time. The Stoics didn't seek perfection. They sought progress. They didn't demand control over the world. They demanded control over themselves, and so can you. If this spoke to something deep inside you, subscribe. Join the movement of people living with intention, strength, and inner stillness, because your life is too important to live it by accident. Start now. Live on purpose, and remember, tranquility is not found. It's created.